I want to remind you today, you are not here to be walked on, overlooked, or taken advantage of. You were created to shine, to stand tall, to live with boldness and confidence. But too many people go through life being too nice, always saying yes, always bending over backward, always putting themselves last, and then wondering why others don't treat them with respect. God didn't create you to be a doormat. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have a purpose, a destiny, a calling on your life. But if you don't value yourself, don't expect others to do it for you. When you constantly say yes to things you don't want to do, when you let people talk down to you, when you let disrespect slide, you're sending a message. I don't think I'm worth more. It's time to stop seeking approval from people who don't even appreciate your kindness. Stop letting guilt make your decisions. Stop thinking that if you say a no, you'll disappoint somebody. Listen, people-pleasing will drain you, but pleasing God will empower you. He wants you to have peace, to have joy, to live with confidence, not to live worn out, frustrated, and feeling unappreciated. I challenge you, set some boundaries. Stand firm in who you are. Some people won't like it when you start speaking up, when you stop saying yes to everything, when you start walking in confidence, but that's okay. The right people will respect you. The right opportunities will open up. And when you honor yourself, you position yourself for the blessings God has in store for you. You are not here to be invisible. You are not here to be everyone's backup plan. You are here to stand strong, to walk in your purpose, and to be all that God created you to be. Stop being too nice. Stop allowing disrespect. Start living with boldness and watch how your life begins to change. Kindness is often seen as a noble trait, something to be admired and encouraged. From a young age, we are taught to be polite, considerate, and accommodating to others. While these qualities are valuable, it is equally important to recognize that kindness should not come at the expense of our own well-being. Many people mistakenly believe that being excessively nice will earn them respect and appreciation. However, in reality, when kindness is not balanced with self-respect and firm boundaries, it can invite mistreatment and disregard from others. One of the biggest misconceptions about kindness is that it means always saying yes, always putting others first, and always being agreeable. But true kindness does not require self-sacrifice to the point of exhaustion or resentment. When a person is overly accommodating, they send a message, consciously or unconsciously, that their needs, feelings, and opinions are secondary to those around them. Over time, this can lead to a pattern where others begin to take them for granted or, worse, disrespect them. This happens because human nature often responds to boundaries or the lack thereof. If a person continuously allows others to interrupt them, make demands of their time, or take advantage of their generosity, people will assume it is acceptable behavior. It is not necessarily that people are intentionally unkind. Rather, they follow the cues that are given. This is why setting limits and maintaining them is a crucial part of ensuring kindness is recognized as a strength rather than a weakness. There is a difference between kindness and people-pleasing. Being kind means treating others with respect and compassion, but people-pleasing stems from a fear of rejection or a desire for approval. Those who struggle with people-pleasing often say yes to avoid conflict, even when it is at their own expense. They may feel guilty when they prioritize themselves or worry that asserting their needs will make them seem selfish. However, true kindness is never about self-denial. It is about balance. A person cannot pour from an empty cup. If they continue to give without replenishing their own emotional and mental reserves, they will eventually experience burnout. An important part of maintaining kindness as a strength is learning to be assertive. Assertiveness is not about being rude or aggressive. It is about communicating needs and expectations in a direct, respectful way. When someone learns to say no without guilt, to express their opinions without fear, and to stand up for themselves when necessary, they are reinforcing their self-worth. People respect those who respect themselves. The more a person values their own time, energy, and well-being, the more others will value them as well. Another crucial aspect of maintaining kindness as a strength is recognizing that not everyone deserves unlimited access to one's generosity. It is easy to assume that if we are good to others, they will be good to us in return. While this is true in many cases, there will always be individuals who take advantage of kindness. Whether in personal relationships, professional environments, or social circles, some people manipulate and exploit those who are overly accommodating. This is why discernment is essential. Not everyone is entitled to our time, energy, or emotional investment. It is perfectly acceptable to limit interactions with those who consistently disrespect or take advantage of our kindness. One of the best ways to ensure kindness is not mistaken for weakness is through confidence. Confidence is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about self-assurance. When a person carries themselves with confidence, speaks with conviction, and knows their own worth, others take notice. A confident person does not need to over-explain their decisions, seek constant validation, or tolerate disrespect. They can be kind while also being firm. They can be compassionate while also being wise. Kindness is a beautiful quality, but only when it is balanced with self-respect. It is possible to be both kind and strong, both generous and discerning. The key is to ensure that kindness is a conscious choice rather than a reflexive habit driven by fear, guilt, or insecurity. When kindness is rooted in self-respect, it becomes a powerful force that commands respect rather than inviting mistreatment. Setting boundaries is one of the most important skills for protecting your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear conflict, rejection, or being perceived as rude or selfish. However, the truth is that boundaries are not only healthy but essential to maintaining positive and respectful relationships. They help define where your needs, values, and personal space begin and end, while also allowing others to understand and respect your limits. Without boundaries, you risk overextending yourself, losing sight of your own needs, and ultimately inviting disrespect into your life. Setting boundaries is about understanding your own worth and having the courage to protect it. Boundaries act as a shield against people who may try to take advantage of you, whether intentionally or unintentionally. When you don't establish clear boundaries, people can easily overstep, expecting you to always be available, always say yes, or always put others first. This is especially true for individuals who have not learned to value themselves and may feel obligated to please others even at their own expense. The more someone disregards your limits, the more they are likely to take advantage of you, and over time, this can lead to resentment and burnout. A common misconception about setting boundaries is that it will cause people to like you less or lead to conflict. The reality is that people who respect you will appreciate your clarity and will not take offense at your limits. Boundaries are not about being rigid or uncompromising. They are about communicating your needs and making sure that others understand what is acceptable behavior. For instance, saying no to an unreasonable request is not a rejection of the person, but a healthy assertion of your priorities. When you communicate boundaries in a calm and respectful manner, you show others that you value both yourself and the relationship. You are also teaching them how to treat you with the same respect. Boundaries also protect your time and energy. Time is one of the most valuable resources we have, and once it is spent, we can never get it back. By learning to set boundaries around your time, you ensure that you are spending it on things and people that align with your values and goals. This includes saying no to commitments that do not serve you, such as attending events or taking on tasks that drain your energy or time without offering any personal benefit or fulfillment. By setting boundaries, you create space for activities that promote your well-being, growth, and happiness. Another critical aspect of setting boundaries is maintaining them. It's easy to say no once, but people who have learned to ignore your limits will often test them again and again. This is where consistency becomes crucial. If you set a boundary and then allow someone to cross it without consequences, you send a mixed message that your limits are negotiable. In order for your boundaries to be respected, you need to stand firm and enforce them. This doesn't mean you have to be harsh or unkind, but it does mean that you need to make it clear that your boundaries are not up for debate. If someone continues to push past your limits, it may be necessary to distance yourself from that person or situation, as they are showing a lack of respect for your needs and well-being. Whether personal or professional, boundaries are essential for mutual respect and understanding. They allow you to maintain a sense of individuality while still nurturing the connection with others. For example, in a friendship, you may set a boundary around how much emotional support you can offer in a given week, especially if you are dealing with your own challenges. In the workplace, boundaries might include limiting the number of after-hours emails you respond to, or setting time aside for personal projects without interruption. When you communicate your boundaries clearly and stick to them, you encourage others to do the same, which ultimately strengthens your relationships. Setting boundaries is also a crucial step in protecting your emotional health. Many people find themselves in relationships where they are constantly giving and receiving little in return. Whether in a romantic relationship, a friendship, or a work environment, emotional drain can lead to feelings of frustration, resentment, and helplessness. Boundaries act as a safeguard, ensuring that you are not taken advantage of emotionally or mentally. For instance, if someone is constantly dumping their emotional burdens on you without reciprocating, it's important to set a boundary that allows you to maintain your own emotional balance. This may involve saying no to certain conversations, limiting time spent with toxic individuals, or walking away from situations where you feel emotionally depleted. The key to setting healthy boundaries is self-awareness. You must first understand your own needs, limits, and desires before you can communicate them to others. This requires taking time for self-reflection, being honest with yourself about what feels right and what doesn't, and being willing to assert those needs in a healthy way. Setting boundaries doesn't make you a bad person, nor does it mean that you are being selfish. On the contrary, it is an act of self-respect and self-care. By learning to set and maintain boundaries, you create a life that is more aligned with your values and priorities. And in doing so, you invite more respect and understanding into your relationships. Boundaries are not walls that isolate you from others. Rather, they are guidelines that foster healthier, more respectful connections. When you set clear boundaries, you make space for genuine relationships that are built on mutual respect and understanding. Ultimately, learning to set and protect your boundaries is one of the most empowering steps you can take to ensure that your life is not only fulfilling, but also free from unnecessary stress and negativity. Seeking validation from others is something most people have experienced at some point in their lives. Whether it's the need for approval from friends, family, or coworkers, the desire for acceptance can feel overwhelming, especially in today's world where social media and public opinions often influence self-esteem. While it's natural to seek affirmation from time to time, constantly relying on external validation can have detrimental effects on your self-worth and overall well-being. The key to breaking free from this cycle is understanding that your worth is not determined by the opinions of others. First, it's essential to understand why we seek validation in the first place. As human beings, we are wired for connection, and validation is often seen as a way of reinforcing our place in a social group. When we receive praise or approval from others, it can feel rewarding, affirming that we are liked, admired, or accepted. However, when this becomes the primary source of our self-worth, we end up putting our emotional well-being in the hands of others. This constant need for validation can lead to anxiety, self-doubt, and an unhealthy attachment to how others perceive us. The reality is that no matter how much we seek external approval, we cannot control how others feel or think about us. It's important to realize that people's opinions are subjective and can change from one moment to the next. What one person admires or values may not be the same as what someone else believes. Therefore, placing your self-worth in the hands of others sets you up for emotional instability. You may find yourself constantly trying to please people, second-guessing your actions and changing who you are in order to fit in or gain approval. But true self-worth comes from within. It is rooted in your values, your abilities, and your unique qualities, not in what others think of you. When you stop seeking validation from others, you free yourself from the constant need to measure up to external standards. Instead of looking outside for affirmation, you begin to trust your own judgment and develop a stronger sense of confidence. It's about knowing that you are enough just as you are, without needing to change or alter yourself to fit someone else's expectations. By recognizing and accepting your own value, you can stop relying on approval from others and focus on cultivating a positive self-image grounded in self-love and respect. Building self-esteem and confidence requires practicing self-compassion. This means being kind to yourself when you make mistakes, forgiving yourself for past shortcomings, and celebrating your accomplishments, no matter how small. It's important to acknowledge your progress and remind yourself of your strengths, regardless of whether anyone else notices or acknowledges them. Self-validation is about recognizing your own worth without waiting for someone else to confirm it. Another important aspect of seeking less validation from others is the ability to make decisions that align with your values, even if they are not popular. People who are overly focused on external validation often make decisions based on what they think will please others rather than what is truly best for them. For instance, someone may stay in a job they dislike because they fear judgment from their peers, or they might follow trends or fads because they want to be accepted. But true personal growth happens when you make choices that are authentic to you, regardless of how they might be received by others. When you stop looking for validation, you become more focused on what truly matters to you. Wow. You begin to trust your instincts and your decisions become more aligned with your passions, goals, and values. You stop overanalyzing others' reactions and start living life according to your own standards. This shift in perspective allows you to pursue a path that brings you fulfillment, rather than simply trying to meet external expectations. Over time, this leads to a stronger sense of purpose and deeper satisfaction with your life choices. Whether personal or professional, seeking less validation allows you to engage with others in a more authentic way. Instead of trying to gain approval or validation from those around you, you can simply be yourself and allow the relationship to grow naturally. You begin to attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, rather than for the persona you feel compelled to present in order to gain approval. This fosters more genuine connections and helps create a healthier, more balanced social circle. Lessening the dependence on external validation also allows you to be more resilient in the face of criticism. Everyone faces criticism at some point in life, whether from colleagues, friends, or strangers. If you are constantly seeking approval, criticism can feel like a direct attack on your self-worth. But when you have internal confidence and self-validation, criticism becomes easier to handle. You can view it objectively, taking constructive feedback without internalizing negative judgments. This ability to remain calm in the face of criticism is a key factor in emotional maturity and personal growth. The journey to stop seeking external validation is a process of self-discovery and empowerment. It requires you to shift your focus from external approval to internal confidence, to trust your own value, and to embrace your uniqueness without fear of judgment. As you begin to rely less on the opinions of others and more on your own sense of worth, you will experience greater emotional freedom, improved mental health, and a stronger, more authentic sense of self. When you no longer rely on others to define your value, you step into a life of self-assurance, authenticity, and peace. The journey to self-validation is not always easy, but it is one of the most rewarding steps you can take in your personal growth. It allows you to fully embrace who you are and live life according to your own terms. By doing so, you create a foundation of inner strength that can withstand the ups and downs of life, knowing that your worth is not determined by anyone else but yourself. Speaking up and taking control of your life is one of the most empowering actions you can take. Many people, whether due to fear, self-doubt, or external pressure, find themselves living in the background of their own existence, quietly going along with the flow instead of asserting their voice and desires. It's easy to become passive in certain situations, especially when faced with conflict or when you fear the potential consequences of speaking your truth. However, if you want to live a fulfilling, authentic life, it is crucial to learn how to speak up, advocate for yourself, and take control of your circumstances. Speaking up begins with recognizing that your voice matters. Too often we silence ourselves, believing that our opinions, ideas, or needs are less important than those of others. This could stem from a variety of factors such as childhood conditioning, societal expectations, or personal insecurities. Yet when you allow others to dominate the conversation or make decisions on your behalf without your input, you relinquish control of your own life. By speaking up, you are asserting that your perspective is valuable and that you deserve to be heard and respected. This doesn't mean you should speak recklessly or without consideration, but rather that you should express your needs and desires in a thoughtful and confident way. Taking control also involves being assertive, which is different from being aggressive or passive. Assertiveness is about communicating your thoughts, feelings, and needs clearly, directly, and respectfully. It means expressing your opinion without apologizing for it or compromising on what you believe is right. Many people struggle with assertiveness because they fear confrontation or they don't want to upset others. However, not speaking up often leads to feelings of resentment, frustration, and powerlessness. When you don't assert yourself, you allow others to take the lead in your life, and over time, this can lead to dissatisfaction and even self-doubt. In contrast, being assertive allows you to set boundaries, communicate your expectations, and ensure that your voice is part of the decision-making process. Speaking up and taking control of your life also involves overcoming fear. Fear of rejection, fear of making mistakes, or fear of facing the unknown can all prevent us from asserting ourselves and standing firm in our beliefs. However, living in fear of these things only perpetuates a cycle of indecision and missed opportunities. Fear is natural, but it should not control you. One of the most effective ways to combat fear is by shifting your mindset. Instead of focusing on the potential negative outcomes, focus on the positive change that could occur if you do speak up. Consider the possibility that speaking your truth could lead to personal growth, new opportunities, and stronger relationships. It's also important to recognize that taking control does not mean controlling everything. Life is unpredictable, and there will always be circumstances beyond our control. However, by speaking up, you take control over how you respond to those situations. Instead of passively accepting things as they come, you can take charge of your reaction, mindset, and actions. This allows you to maintain a sense of agency, which is crucial for both your mental and emotional well-being. Whether it's choosing how to handle a difficult conversation, setting boundaries with a colleague, or making an important life decision, speaking up puts you in the driver's seat of your own life. Another key aspect of taking control is the understanding that you don't have to have all the answers or be perfect. Many people avoid speaking up because they feel they aren't knowledgeable enough or fear that their input won't be well received. But the truth is, no one has all the answers and everyone makes mistakes. What matters is your willingness to be vulnerable and share your thoughts, even if they are imperfect. Taking control means being willing to step into situations with confidence, even when you don't know exactly what will happen. It means trusting yourself to navigate challenges and being open to learning along the way. Speaking up and taking control involves expressing your needs and ensuring that your boundaries are respected. It's easy to fall into patterns of people-pleasing, trying to meet the expectations of others to avoid conflict or rejection. However, over time, this behavior can lead to resentment, emotional exhaustion, and a loss of self-identity. Speaking up allows you to maintain a healthy balance in your relationships by ensuring that both your needs and the needs of others are considered. It fosters mutual respect and understanding, and it allows you to connect with others on a deeper, more authentic level. Speaking up and taking control can be the difference between staying stagnant or advancing in your career. Many individuals struggle to express their ideas, ask for what they deserve, or advocate for their own professional growth. But by remaining silent, you limit your potential and risk being overlooked or undervalued. Speaking up allows you to showcase your talents, contribute meaningfully, and take charge of your own success. Whether it's asking for a promotion, presenting an idea, or addressing a concern, speaking up is essential for career development and personal fulfillment. Speaking up and taking control is about reclaiming your power. It is about refusing to let fear, doubt, or external circumstances dictate your life. When you learn to speak your truth, stand firm in your beliefs, and take action towards your goals, you set yourself on a path of empowerment and personal growth. This does not mean you will always have all the answers, nor does it mean that every outcome will be perfect. However, it does mean that you are actively engaging with your life, shaping your future, and taking responsibility for your decisions. You become the author of your own story, and in doing so, you create the life that aligns with your values, desires, and aspirations. Not everyone deserves your yes, It's a simple statement, but one that carries deep significance. Too often, people feel obligated to say yes to others, whether it's to requests for their time, energy, or resources. This may stem from a sense of guilt, the desire to be liked, or the fear of letting others down. However, when you consistently say yes to others without considering your own needs, you risk depleting yourself, overextending your energy, and neglecting your own well-being. The ability to say no is a powerful skill that not only protects your time and energy, but also ensures that your relationships are more balanced and respectful. Learning to say no begins with understanding the value of your time and energy. These are two of your most limited resources, and once they are spent, you can never get them back. Every time you say yes to something, you are essentially saying no to something else. Whether it's time for yourself, time with loved ones, or time to focus on your personal goals. Saying yes too often means sacrificing your own priorities in favor of someone else's, which can leave you feeling resentful, exhausted, and unfulfilled. By learning to set boundaries and prioritize your own needs, you regain control over how your time is spent and ensure that you are focusing on what truly matters. It's not always easy to say no, especially when we fear disappointing others. Society often rewards people who are willing to sacrifice their own needs for the sake of others, and this can create a pressure to always be accommodating. But the truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you continuously put others' needs before your own, you will eventually find yourself depleted, both mentally and physically. Saying no is not a reflection of selfishness. It is a way of honoring your own needs and ensuring that you can be there for others in a meaningful and sustainable way. Setting limits on your time and energy also allows you to make room for the things that are most important to you. When you say no to things that drain you or do not align with your goals, you create space for activities and relationships that bring you joy, growth, and fulfillment. This might mean saying no to certain social events that don't add value to your life, turning down extra work that would stretch you too thin, or simply declining requests that you know would leave you feeling stressed or overwhelmed. By being selective about where you invest your time, you ensure that you are prioritizing your personal growth and well-being, which ultimately leads to a more fulfilling and balanced life. Learning to say no is crucial in maintaining healthy relationships. When you constantly say yes to others, especially when it's at the expense of your own needs, it can lead to a dynamic where you are taken for granted or even exploited. People who understand and respect your boundaries will appreciate your ability to say no when necessary. They will recognize that your decisions come from a place of self-respect, and this will foster a stronger, more balanced relationship. On the other hand, people who are used to getting their way without regard for your boundaries may feel inconvenienced or upset when you start saying no. However, it's important to remember that their discomfort is not your responsibility. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, and by asserting your boundaries, you are teaching others how to treat you with the respect you deserve. It's important to note that saying no doesn't mean shutting yourself off from others or refusing to help. It simply means being discerning about what you agree to based on your own needs and priorities. Saying no allows you to offer your time, energy, and resources more intentionally, ensuring that when you do say yes, it is because you genuinely want to engage, not because you feel obligated. By making this distinction, you cultivate deeper, more authentic relationships that are built on genuine connections rather than a sense of obligation or duty. One of the benefits of learning to say no is that it allows you to live more authentically. When you are constantly accommodating others, you may begin to lose sight of your own desires, goals, and values. You might find yourself living according to other people's expectations rather than your own. By saying no to things that don't align with your values, you ensure that your actions are more intentional and aligned with your true self. This enables you to live a more authentic life, one that reflects your personal priorities and aspirations rather than the demands or desires of others. It is also essential to recognize that saying no is not always an immediate process. It's a skill that can be developed over time. At first, you might feel guilty or anxious about turning someone down. However, with practice, saying no becomes easier, and you start to realize that your decisions are empowering, not selfish. You will begin to understand that it is possible to help others while still taking care of yourself. Saying no allows you to focus on your own goals, recharge your energy, and be in a better position to offer your support to others when it truly matters. Saying no is a way of reclaiming your personal power. When you say yes to everything, you give away control over your time, energy, and emotional resources. By learning to say no, you take back control and reinforce your ability to make choices that are best for you. When you are clear about your boundaries and are willing to assert them, you stand in your power and refuse to be dictated by the demands of others. Not everyone deserves your yes. Saying no is not a negative or selfish act, but rather a positive, empowering choice that allows you to maintain your well-being, foster healthy relationships, and live a more authentic life. By learning to set boundaries and prioritize your needs, you gain control over your time, energy, and emotional resources. You teach others to respect your boundaries and create space for the things that truly matter to you. Saying no ultimately strengthens your relationships, enhances your personal growth, and enables you to lead a more balanced, fulfilling life. Your self-worth is not defined by others' opinions. We live in a society where we are often conditioned to seek validation from those around us. Whether it's from family, friends, colleagues, or social media followers, it can be easy to place our value in the hands of others. However, the truth is that external validation is fleeting, and basing your self-worth on it can be dangerous. It sets you up for disappointment and emotional instability, as you can never fully control how others perceive you. Instead, true self-worth comes from within. It is rooted in your self-acceptance, values, beliefs, and the way you treat yourself. The first step in realizing that your worth is not determined by others is to understand that people's opinions of you are subjective. Everyone has their own set of biases, experiences, and perspectives that shape how they view the world and the people around them. What one person values or appreciates may not be the same as what someone else does. Therefore, basing your self-worth on external approval is a losing game. You cannot control how others see you, and it's important to remember that their opinions are not a reflection of your true value. When you rely on the fluctuating opinions of others, you allow them to dictate how you feel about yourself, which leads to an unstable sense of self-worth. Your worth should be based on your intrinsic qualities, your kindness, resilience, abilities, and personal values. These aspects are not contingent on what others think of you. They are constant and authentic. Building self-worth from within means embracing who you are, acknowledging your strengths, and accepting your flaws. It's about cultivating self-love and developing the confidence to stand in your truth without needing others' approval. This doesn't mean disregarding feedback or constructive criticism, but rather it means recognizing that your worth is not tied to others' assessments. It's also essential to understand that external validation can lead to a dependency that harms your emotional well-being. When you rely on others to tell you that you are good enough, you can easily fall into a pattern of seeking constant reassurance. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy when you don't receive the validation you seek, leaving you questioning your abilities and self-worth. Relying on others to determine your value can also make you more susceptible to manipulation, as people may take advantage of your need for approval. By focusing on developing internal validation, you can break free from this cycle and learn to trust your own judgment and feelings. When you accept and appreciate yourself, the opinions of others become secondary and less impactful. One of the most liberating aspects of shifting your focus from external validation to internal validation is that it frees you to live authentically. When you stop seeking approval from others, you are no longer bound by the expectations of those around you. You can pursue your passions, set your own goals, and make decisions based on your values, rather than the fear of disappointing others. This leads to a more fulfilling life because you are living in alignment with who you truly are, not who you think others want you to be. Living authentically allows you to feel more at peace with yourself, as you no longer feel the need to constantly prove your worth to others. Furthermore, by focusing on internal validation, you strengthen your resilience and self-confidence. When you encounter challenges or setbacks, you will be better equipped to handle them. As you have a solid foundation of self-worth, you won't be easily shaken by criticism or rejection because you know that your value is not defined by those external factors. This sense of inner strength allows you to stay grounded in your own beliefs and values, even when the opinions of others may be negative or discouraging. Building internal validation also promotes healthier relationships. When you no longer seek constant validation from others, you are able to engage in more authentic, balanced relationships. You are no longer dependent on others to make you feel good about yourself, which means you can enter relationships from a place of mutual respect and understanding, rather than neediness. Healthy relationships are built on a foundation of mutual respect, and by valuing yourself, you allow others to do the same. You will attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, rather than for the persona you put on to gain approval. In order to shift your focus from external validation to internal validation, it's important to practice self-compassion and mindfulness. Start by recognizing and challenging the negative thoughts that arise when you seek approval from others. Instead of relying on others to make you feel good about yourself, learn to validate your own accomplishments, progress, and feelings. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small, and acknowledge the hard work and effort you put into achieving them. This practice of self-compassion allows you to build a more positive and realistic view of yourself. And over time, it helps to reinforce the belief that your worth comes from within, not from the opinions of others. Understanding that your self-worth is not defined by others' opinions is a critical step in personal growth and emotional well-being. External validation may provide temporary satisfaction, but it is ultimately unreliable and damaging to your sense of self-worth. By focusing on internal validation, you can cultivate a more stable, resilient, and authentic sense of self. When you embrace who you are, trust in your abilities, and value yourself without needing others to tell you that you are enough, you empower yourself to live a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Self-worth is an inside job, and once you recognize that, you can begin to experience true freedom and peace.